Mark Twain Selected Works. Extract from Chapter 26 of The Innocents Abroad, 1869. 17 or 18 centuries ago, this Coliseum was the theater of Rome, and Rome was mistress of the world. Splendid pageants were exhibited here in presence of the emperor, the great ministers of state, the nobles, and vast audiences of citizens of smaller consequence. Gladiators fought with gladiators, and at times with warrior prisoners from many a distant land. It was the theater of Rome, of the world, and the man of fashion who could not let fall in a casual and unintentional manner something about my private box at the Coliseum could not move in the first circles. When the clothing store merchant wished to consume the corner groceryman with envy, he bought secured seats in the front row and let the thing be known. When the irresistible dry goods clerk wished to blight and destroy according to his native instinct, he got himself up regardless of expense and took some other fellow's young lady to the Coliseum, and then accented the affront by cramming her with ice cream between the acts, or by approaching the cage and stirring up the martyrs with his whalebone cane for her edification. The Roman swell was in his true element only when he stood up against a pillar and fingered his mustache unconscious of the ladies, when he viewed the bloody combats through an opera glass 2 inches long, when he excited the envy of provincials by criticism which showed that he had been to the Coliseum many and many a time, and was long ago over the novelty of it, when he turned away with a yawn at last and said, "He a star? Handles his sword like an apprentice brigand. He'll do for the country, maybe, but he don't answer for the metropolis." Glad was the contraband that had a seat in the pit at the Saturday matinee, and happy the Roman street boy who ate his peanuts and guyed the gladiators from the dizzy gallery. For me was reserved the high honor of discovering among the rubbish of the ruined Coliseum the only playbill of that establishment now extant. There was a suggestive smell of mint drops about it still. A corner of it had evidently been chewed, and on the margin in choice Latin these words were written in a delicate female hand: "Meet me on the Tarpeian Rock tomorrow evening, dear, at sharp 7. Mother will be absent on a visit to her friends in the Sabine Hills. Claudia." Where is that lucky youth today, and where the little hand that wrote those dainty lines? Dust and ashes these 1700 years. Thus reads the bill: Roman Coliseum, unparalleled attraction. New properties, new lions, new gladiators. Engagement of the renowned Marcus Marcellus Valerian, for 6 nights only. The management beg leave to offer to the public an entertainment surpassing in magnificence anything that has heretofore been attempted on any stage. No expense has been spared to make the opening season one which shall be worthy the generous patronage which the management feels sure will crown their efforts. The management beg leave to state that they have succeeded in securing the services of a galaxy of talent, such as has not been beheld in Rome before. The performance will commence this evening with a grand broadsword combat between 2 young and promising amateurs, and a celebrated Parthian gladiator who has just arrived a prisoner from the camp of Eris. This will be followed by a grand moral battle-axe engagement between the renowned Valerian, with one hand tied behind him, and two gigantic savages from Britain, after which the renowned Valerian, if he survive, will fight with the broadsword left-handed against 6 sophomores and a freshman from the gladiatorial college. A long series of brilliant engagements will follow, in which the finest talent of the empire will take part, after which the celebrated infant prodigy known as the young Achilles will engage 4 tiger whelps in combat, armed with no other weapon than his little spear, the whole to conclude with a chaste and elegant general slaughter, in which 13 African lions and 22 barbarian prisoners will war with each other until all are exterminated. Box office now open. Dress circle $1. Children and servants half price. An efficient police force will be on hand to preserve order and keep the wild beasts from leaping the railings and discommoding the audience. Doors open at 7. Performance begins at 8. Positively no free list. Theodorus Job Press. It was as singular as it was gratifying that I was also so fortunate as to find among the rubbish of the arena a stained and mutilated copy of the Roman Daily Battle-Axe, containing a critique upon this very performance. It comes to hand too late by many centuries to rank as news, and therefore I translate and publish it simply to show how very little the general style and phraseology of dramatic criticism has altered in the ages that have dragged their slow length along, since the carriers laid this one damp and fresh before their Roman patrons. The opening season, Coliseum. Notwithstanding the inclemency of the weather, quite a respectable number of the rank and fashion of the city assembled last night to witness the debut upon metropolitan boards of the young tragedian who has of late been winning such golden opinions in the amphitheaters of the provinces. Some 60,000 persons were present, and but for the fact that the streets were almost impassable, it is fair to presume that the house would have been full. His august majesty, the Emperor Aurelius, occupied the imperial box and was the cynosure of all eyes. Many illustrious nobles and generals of the empire graced the occasion with their presence, and not the least among them was the young patrician lieutenant whose laurels, won in the ranks of the Thundering Legion, are still so green upon his brow. The cheer which greeted his entrance was heard beyond the Tiber. The late repairs and decorations add both to the comeliness and the comfort of the Coliseum. The new cushions are a great improvement upon the hard marble seats we have been so long accustomed to. The present management deserve well of the public. They have restored to the Coliseum the gilding, the rich upholstery, and the uniform magnificence which old Coliseum frequenters tell us Rome was so proud of 50 years ago. The opening scene last night, the broadsword combat between 2 young amateurs and a famous Parthian gladiator who was sent here a prisoner, was very fine. The elder of the 2 young gentlemen handled his weapon with a grace that marked the possession of extraordinary talent. His feint of thrusting, followed instantly by a happily delivered blow which unhelmeted the Parthian, was received with hearty applause. He was not thoroughly up in the backhanded stroke, but it was very gratifying to his numerous friends to know that, in time, practice would have overcome this defect. However, he was killed. His sisters, who were present, expressed considerable regret his mother left the Coliseum. The other youth maintained the contest with such spirit as to call forth enthusiastic bursts of applause. When at last he fell a corpse, his aged mother ran screaming, with hair disheveled and tears streaming from her eyes, and swooned away just as her hands were clutching at the railings of the arena. She was promptly removed by the police. Under the circumstances, the woman's conduct was pardonable, perhaps, but we suggest that such exhibitions interfere with the decorum which should be preserved during the performances, and are highly improper in the presence of the emperor. The Parthian prisoner fought bravely and well he might, for he was fighting for both life and liberty. His wife and children were there to nerve his arm with their love and to remind him of the old home he should see again if he conquered. When his second assailant fell, the woman clasped her children to her breast and wept for joy. But it was only a transient happiness. The captive staggered toward her, and she saw that the liberty he had earned was earned too late. He was wounded unto death. Thus the first act closed in a manner which was entirely satisfactory. The manager was called before the curtain and returned his thanks for the honor done him in a speech which was replete with wit and humor, and closed by hoping that his humble efforts to afford cheerful and instructive entertainment would continue to meet with the approbation of the Roman public. The star now appeared and was received with vociferous applause and the simultaneous waving of 60,000 handkerchiefs. Marcus Marcellus Valerian, stage name, his real name is Smith, is a splendid specimen of physical development and an artist of rare merit. His management of the battle axe is wonderful. His gaiety and his playfulness are irresistible in his comic parts, and yet they are inferior to his sublime conceptions in the grave realm of tragedy. When his axe was describing fiery circles about the heads of the bewildered barbarians, in exact time with his springing body and his prancing legs, the audience gave way to uncontrollable bursts of laughter. But when the back of his weapon broke the skull of one, and almost in the same instant its edge clove the other bodies in twain, the howl of enthusiastic applause that shook the building was the acknowledgment of a critical assemblage that he was a master of the noblest department of his profession. If he has a fault, and we are sorry to even intimate that he has, it is that of glancing at the audience in the midst of the most exciting moments of the performance as if seeking admiration. The pausing in a fight to bow when bouquets are thrown to him is also in bad taste. In the great left-handed combat, he appeared to be looking at the audience half the time, instead of carving his adversaries. And when he had slain all the sophomores and was dallying with the freshmen, he stooped and snatched a bouquet as it fell and offered it to his adversary at a time when a blow was descending which promised favorably to be his death warrant. Such levity is proper enough in the provinces, we make no doubt, but it ill suits the dignity of the metropolis. We trust our young friend will take these remarks in good part, for we mean them solely for his benefit. All who know us are aware that, although we are at times justly severe upon tigers and martyrs, we never intentionally offend gladiators.